It's DD on the spot.
Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please like and subscribe down below. We greatly appreciate it. We have Billy, Steven, Trey, and John here. Alone, they are just your average person, but together, they form the Strips. Gentlemen, how you guys doing today?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So why don't you, this is a question for each of you guys, why don't you just tell us how you guys got started into music, what your influences are, and just give us a backstory.
I got started in music when I was young. My parents had me play piano lessons, but I wasn't very into the lessons myself, and I kind of just gave up on it for a long time. But I always had this dream that I wanted to play rock and roll. So we kind of all started getting together in college when I was trying to just get a band together.
Similar story. I started playing music since I was little, like 5 years old. My whole family's musical, always done it, always will do it. And these guys were playing a rock and show one time, and I was like, I want to play with these guys. These guys are awesome. And yeah.
I was a little bit younger. I had guitar lessons for like 6 months and then did that thing a lot of kids tend to do if they're not getting better fast enough. They get frustrated and quit, but then got back at it, picked it up when I was in college a little bit more, and then just kind of made my way into hanging out with John and Trey, and we started putting some stuff together.
Then I bought an acoustic guitar first year of college. And then I met these guys, and after singing slow, sad acoustic songs, they showed me like Kings of Leon's first album, and I was like, I bet I could sing like that.
Were you the guy that would play the acoustic guitar at parties and just get all the girls?
No.
He would play it at a party and get none of the girls.
Or you just get everyone depressed and want to leave? So when you guys were forming, how did the name The Strips come to be? Is there a story behind that, or was it just a cool name that you guys thought of?
We used to have, we wanted to bond as friends, so we said every Tuesday we're going to hang out as friends in our crappy basement, and it was Steve, Trey, myself, and our buddy who's not here. He's named Conrad Bergeron. And Conrad and I worked at a summer camp together, and all the counselors got camp nicknames. And he was Bacon, and I was Panda. So we used to joke around. It was like Bacon and the Strips. We're all hanging out together. And because he has no musical talent at all, we kicked him out of there right away, so we became just the Strips. And now Bacon's out there doing his own thing.
That's great. So this question goes to John now. So John, you're the drummer of the band. One of the questions that I love to ask the drummers of bands is, do you feel that extra added pressure when you guys are performing? Because the drummer is kind of the backbone of the band when it comes to laying down the beat and keeping everything together. Do you feel that extra added pressure knowing that if you screw up, it could really lead to a disastrous effect for the band? And how do you deal with that extra added pressure?
I definitely do think about that, and especially when we first started, Trey back here, he had a little bit of stage fright, so he would literally move behind the drum set, so I was like in front of everybody as well. And I don't know, you kind of get this extra show energy or adrenaline when you're going live. Like in practice, I fuck up all the time, but then the show comes, it's just like pure instinct at that point, and you just kind of go through it. It's just a whole nother feeling.
Does it kind of give you sort of a more humbled perspective, knowing that, drummers usually aren't the most well-known members of the band. They're a lot of people like them, but a lot of people don't know just kind of how much they contribute. But knowing that you do contribute a lot to the band, and you might not get as much in fanfare as you should, does it kind of help with give you like a sort of humble perspective?
Not at all. I have a massive ego. And every show I wear a panda head over my head. So kind of with Trey's stage fright and him kind of coming behind when he doesn't have to sing, it almost like I become the front man for some songs, and I'm wearing a ridiculous panda head, and people love it. And so I'm not humble at all, no.
Yeah. So this next question is for Trey. So Trey, when you were first getting into the band, what was the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome personally, and how did you achieve it?
Talking into the mic to the crowd, getting the crowd involved, not just singing and playing through the songs. Kind of felt like a jackass up there right away at the start for sure, and getting over that and being confident, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making the crowd have fun with us.
How's that currently been? Have you found that you're a lot better with communicating with the crowd?
Yeah. I can kind of be an asshole now, but in a fun way.
We had a show yesterday that it was like in a hot field, so the audience was in the shade. They weren't really up front, so they weren't giving us a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And Trey it's like half stand-up routine for him now, half rock and roll show. He's nailing it lately.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, if this doesn't work out, you can always become a stand-up comic then, I guess, as it sees fit. So, Steven, when you were starting out in the band, did you have any say when it came to musically? I mean, I know you're the guitar player. When it came to the melodies of your tracks, are you the main contributor, or is there someone who writes it and then you sort of develop the melody off of the song?
I think we write our songs collectively for the most part, so it's kind of, everyone pretty much writes their own part. I mean, of course, someone comes up with an idea like, hey, try this and blah, blah, blah. But, I think everyone has like all the creative freedom for each of our own instruments as far as writing together goes.
Yeah. So, and also, Steven, when you guys are performing live on stage, are there any signature things that you guys like to do as a band that kind of make you distinguishable from any other bands? Like some bands like to do like some wild stage antics, or they like to do other sorts of things with either like they got pyrotechnics or they got smoke machines. Do you guys do something that really distinguishes you guys as a band?
I think there's a couple of things. We got a couple gimmicks. Trey and I like to really get physical and run into each other a little bit when we're really having a good time. And then there's some fun dancing in a couple of songs, and just stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So now we have Billy here, last but not least. Billy, when you guys were forming the band, what would you say overall was the biggest difficulty of the band when you guys were starting out, and how did you guys as a group overcome it?
Speaking the same language. So we would try to communicate parts to work on, and there would be a conversation of verse versus chorus and elements like that to actually describe what part they were talking about, and they would often just use onomatopoeias, which would make it difficult for me to know exactly what part they were talking about.
For example, I'd be like, Billy, it's the part right after ba-doo-ba-doo. Like, that's the part we're talking about. Because Billy's the only one who's really studied music.
Yeah.
Studied it.
So did it become like a whole learning process then, where you had to teach the guys kind of how to read music a little bit, or kind of how to better communicate it?
Not really.
I think it was just forced over time.
You just adapted to it, yeah. So yeah,
kept
that's awesome.
Colliding until we kind of have a hybrid language now.
Normally we would just I'd play the different parts, be like, this one? No, not that one. What about this one? Yeah, that one. Okay.
So when you guys are coming up with the lyrics, do you guys use mainly, what type of inspiration do you guys mainly take from your lyrics? Is it day-to-day stuff? We have bands that come on here and talk about how it's a lot of them is day-to-day, or it's stuff they might hear on the news, or it's stuff I've always asked this question to everybody that I've had on here, and only recently, the latest podcast, which will be on right before you guys, they said that there's always that music trope where the guy's asleep and has a dream, and then he dreams up the perfect lyrics, and then he wakes up and, oh my God, I got to write down these lyrics. It's the perfect song. Has that ever happened to you guys?
Not even a little bit for me, anyway.
No. We've kind of written in two different ways. We'll literally all sit down with a piece of paper and be like, these are some cool words. Let's try to force them in with these other cool words that someone else thought of. And it slowly progresses, and one person will be like, hold on, let me write 2 sentences quick. And we'll all look at it and be like, yeah, that's great. And then the other way we write is just kind of one person will have a huge chunk of lyrics that's already in their head or written down, and we kind of give it to Trey, and he transforms it a little bit to fit something that he's singing at the time.
Which version do you think you guys prefer more? Because I think with the first one, it's really cool because each of you guys kind of has a voice in the song, so when you guys are singing it, you can kind of realize, oh, this was so-and-so's part. But which version of songwriting do you guys typically prefer?
I like when we kind of all sit down and just do a little bit line by line, which is, I think I prefer it. I think as we get better individually at music, we're finding that each of us has the capacity to kind of write a song start to finish. So I think that happens a little bit more, but I do really like when we kind of sit down and make this kind of hodgepodge of thoughts into a coherent song.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I like to ask is, when it comes to song titles, there's also two schools of thought that a lot of people use. A lot of people will write down the song title and then they'll come up with lyrics based on that, or I'd say the more popular version is people will come up with the song lyrics and then from the song lyrics they'll look at them and then come up with the song title. Which style do you guys tend to favor?
I think we're definitely style two. Like after we have all the lyrics down, we're usually like, "Ooh, this line's really cool. That should be the title right there."
That's awesome. So we love to hear first show stories. What was the first live show that you guys performed as the Strips, and how did it go?
The first live show I can think of is
the first one with all of us.
With all of us, okay, yeah.
Basement show.
I would say that, yeah. We played a show in a basement at a college party, and it was your basement, yeah. And the basement was sweet because it was kind of the garage door opened, and so it was like an open alley outside.
That was a rager. That one was actually pretty awesome.
We got a keg.
We had like chalk fest going on, a bunch of chalk, and everybody was drawing, and it was really overall positive experience because it was kind of the first time all four of us were playing together, and it takes a little bit to have four people work together and feel good about it, I think. So that was the first time we were kind of feeling good about it, and it was a good experience.
Do you think that dealing with those college crowds, which can tend to be a little bit more rowdy, has really helped you guys overall when it comes to performing live? Because if you deal with a rowdy crowd and you get through it and nothing really bad happens, that can really be a huge confidence boost, and then you can feel like you can deal with pretty much any type of crowd. Has that been something that you guys have found?
I think rowdy crowds are better, as long as people aren't obnoxious. It's a give and take relationship. They're gonna amp you up to go to the next level, and then it's basically crowd and band just trying to outdo each other with energy, and that leads to the most fun shows, I think.
That's 100% true. It's that, like, their rowdiness gives us energy out of nowhere,
confidence to just go for stuff.
Yeah. So the big question that I like to ask here, and the audience really loves hearing this, is the thrill of performing live. Now we've had, I think you guys are probably like close to the 50th guest. I think it's 48th or 49th. So we're getting there, everyone. But when it comes to performing live, I ask the bands that come on here, and it's always the same description. It's unlike any drug that you could ever take. It's just the best feeling in the world. But it can be different for individuals in a band due to the different instruments that you guys play and how that can sort of produce a different euphoric feeling. But what does performing live feel like for you? And you guys can each go around and answer this individually.
Kick it off, Billy.
Okay. I just have a lot of fun with it. I've been playing in concerts and things since I was in 4th grade. And so I've been playing music in front of people forever. No, even before that. Anyways.
It's in the womb.
But it's always fun, but it's a little bit more of a pressure element when it's just 4 people on stage as compared to like 40 4th graders who can't play the violin and sounds like screeching owls. So yeah, there's just a huge adrenaline element to it. I love it.
Yeah, I think adrenaline is the right word. I think the thing I like the most is you're going into this high pressure but still fun situation, like with your buddies. So like everything I'm trying to do becomes like to not let these guys down. I want to do the best thing I possibly can to play my part in it. And when you kind of like forget about yourself a little bit, I think it's a lot easier to just really excel, because then you're not worried about what you are going to feel like as much as not letting down your buds.
Yeah, I really didn't like it right away. I was just kind of doing it and going what was happening at that time in my life, and I was just in a band with these guys. Once we kind of all got pretty confident with our instruments and stuff, and didn't have to think so much about where we were at in the song or what was coming next, and we could just relax. And now I can kind of focus more on singing rather than what I'm doing on the guitar, because it's kind of simplified for what I do on guitar now, and it's just a blast.
Yeah, fun is a good word. Like I said, fun.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling, because big part of me wants to make sure that like the crowd out there is having the most fun they can possibly have, because afterwards I'm always like, oh, thanks for listening, thanks for coming. Like, it's them I'm thanking, but at the same time, it's such a great and fun feeling that it's like I'm doing it for myself in a way, where I'm like, this is amazing. So it's a weird balance between I want to make a great show for them, but this is great for me and I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one of the big questions I also like to ask people, and I've gotten a mixed variety, there's basically two answers to this, but I always like to ask, when you're performing live, does time seem to stand still or does it seem to go by really, really fast? And does it depend sort of on the scenario?
The crowd energy definitely will make it go by faster because you're just like enjoying yourself, you're seeing them enjoy it, and you're just like going with it. But if the crowd's energy is a little bit slower, for me at least, it's a little bit more of I'm like analyzing things more, and so I don't know, it slows down for me.
I feel like it flies by every time. It's just like just a blur of a lot of fun, and then all of a sudden it's over.
Yeah, that's usually what happens to me. It's just like, oh, I thought we were playing the second song. Oh, we're on the second to last song. The show's over. Goodness, it's so fast every time.
So when you guys are getting ready for a show, do you guys have any pre-show traditions? Like we have bands on here that say that they like to take a few shots, they like to have a couple beers, or they like to stretch. Do you guys have a tradition set up to kind of be? Are you guys a little superstitious about that, or do you guys just like to wing it when you get to the venue?
We're not superstitious. We know how awesome we are. I mean, we don't really have a pre-show ritual. Maybe every now and then, before like a real big show, we'll just kind of get together and be like, "This is going to be amazing. We're going to be great. High five, everybody. Let's do this."
Yeah. So one of the things that I like to ask too, because I have a similar sort of experience, although I don't perform, I do a podcast, but after I'm done doing, let's say, like maybe like 2 podcasts in a row or even 3 in a day, I just feel dead tired and I don't want to talk to anyone at home or anything like that. I just want to go to bed to get some rest. Do you guys feel like that after a show when you guys have given it all, or do you guys feel that you're still more willing to go out and associate? Or some band members are sort of like, just leave me the hell alone, like get away from me. I just want to just relax and recuperate. What do you guys like after a show usually?
Yeah.
We love interacting with the people who come to see us.
Yeah.
Whether they're a friend or someone completely new. If you can thank everyone, you should thank everyone. And
absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's just be the polite guy, clean up your stuff, get off the stage, but then get out there and have a good time. The whole point is to have a good time. So.
Yeah, can say better.
Yeah. One of the things that I really came to realize when I started this podcast is that Minneapolis has a huge, huge, huge metal scene that I would have never guessed in a million years. I mean, everyone thinks about Minneapolis, they think about Prince, they think about pop music and that sort of genre. But not being a heavy metal band yourself, did you guys find it hard to sort of establish yourself, not being in the popular genre?
I think it did take longer. And almost every show we played when we were starting, we were either playing with metal bands or with folk bands. Those are the 2 genres. That's all we played with. And it took a while to kind of find other bands that were like us to build up our own friend network. So it was tough at first.
Was there ever a moment where you guys were considering maybe like including more metalish lyrics into your songs or kind of blending genres a little bit, or were you always just kind of say, hey, we're going to stick with this genre, we know we could do really good with it?
We do.
We do what we love to hear, so it's like if we were to do that, one of us would just be like, we can't do this.
Plus, I have all these guys on here, and they just scream their vocals out every night, and I was like, yeah, that cannot be healthy. I mean, but then a lot of guys, when I come on here, I say, why do you like to scream in the mic so much? And a lot of them go, well, I can't sing. I sing for shit in real life, so I figured might as well start screaming because that would work. So I find that tends to be the more popular answer. But we loved your first songs. What was the first song that you guys came up with as a band?
All the way first? Oh, man. Some bad stuff.
I think it was probably Believe It was the first thing that kind of came together.
That's true. Yeah, that was the first good one, Believe It, which we don't have a very good recording of it, but you can see it live if you come out and see us. We nail it. And besides that, we came up with a bunch that we've just thrown out because we were just getting started, learning our instruments together.
Yep, absolutely.
But there's a few that stuck with us. Yeah.
So this next question is for Trey. Trey, what would you say has been your favorite venue that you've performed at?
Maybe one of the poorhouse venues, just kind of because it's a huge stage downtown, and we've had nights where it's like filled up with the balcony full, just because not people come see us. But we're playing late enough, and it's like a kind of club. So, but that was like, I mean, there was like bridesmaid party that night, and so that was probably pretty awesome. It felt like we were playing for like a huge crowd.
Nice. And then this goes for everyone. What has been your most positive experience playing it? Like your best audience reaction where everyone seemed to gel? Is there a venue or a performance that comes to mind, or have they all been pretty much the same?
I think there's one that kind of stands out. The first time we played the Caboose, for a couple of reasons, because like when I was in college and I would come to the city, I would literally see bands that I love on that stage. So then I got that experience of being up there. But that was our first time playing with a couple other bands who we are still friends with, and their friends are great, and they came out, the place was filled up, and it was hours of amazing music. So
yeah. You guys should check them out. It's Feed the Dog is one of them. They're this incredible folk rock band. And then Indigibliss is the other one. They're kind of a bit more our style rock and roll.
Yeah, I'm writing those names down right now, so I'll definitely look them up. And if the audience wants, I can get them on the podcast for sure. I'd love to talk to them. So
we recorded with them, with their the bass player in Indigibliss recorded our first EP, and now we're recording with in Minneapolis
with their friend
Jack Vonderchek, who's incredible.
How's the progress been going on the recording? Are you guys doing an album now?
We just set up recording. We're doing a 3 or more song EP coming up. We're recording in November, so that'll be coming your way pretty soon.
Oh,
we're very excited.
Yeah, I'll definitely plug that when it gets released. Okay, now we go to our most popular part of the segment, the 5 questions that I like to ask every band or health and nutrition expert or whoever we get on here. But the first question, and this is for all of you guys to answer as well. The first question is, out of all the songs that have ever been written in the history of music, what is one song that you personally wish you'd come up with, and why?
I need a moment.
Yeah, this is a tough question.
I'll just go with the guitar song that is my personal favorite. I'm gonna go with Hendrix's "Voodoo Child."
Yep.
I mean, it's amazing, but then Stevie Ray Vaughan does a rendition that is my second favorite song behind Hendrix's version. So just that's the coolest guitar riff in my head ever. So that would have been amazing to go with.
Yeah, Voodoo Child. It was either Voodoo Child or Along a Watchtower.
Nice.
I mean, I can't think of one. There's so many songs that I wish we wrote, but I'm lucky we write some good ones.
Yeah. Trey?
Yeah, I'm out right now. That's too big for me.
All right. I got to mention that our most popular answer so far with 5 is Bohemian Rhapsody. But, All Along the Watchtower, that's actually the 3rd time that's been entered. So that is actually now moved up to 2nd place. I do have to say I'm going to have to be a huge corporate sellout and say, I mentioned this last podcast, I'm going to mention it again. I would just write up and then get the copyright for, before I release it, the Happy Birthday song. Think about all the revenue that you would make from that. If you patent that, you would be the richest person on earth, and that would only be for 15 minutes of work, or 15 seconds of work, basically. So that would be my dream right there. So now for our second question. Out of all the artists that have ever lived, dead or alive, doesn't matter, you can pick either one. If you could be on stage and perform live with any artist for one show, who would it be and why?
I'm too intimidated to do it with my dream band, Led Zeppelin, so I would do it with Portugal the Man.
Okay, this is a scenario where you're not going to be too intimidated, so I'm going to put down both for you then.
Okay, Led Zeppelin it is.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
I'm going with the original Jimi Hendrix lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Experience, man.
Yep.
Hootie and the Blue. No.
I was going to say, if you say Nickelback, I'm shutting off this podcast right now.
Don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I think I'd go with Them Crooked Vultures. They just seem like that'd be just so fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's like little bits from everywhere.
Yep.
I'd want to get up on stage with young Kings of Leon.
Yep.
Back in the past. They're still alive, but go back.
They're basically dead.
They're dead to us.
Yeah, so I gotta say, yeah, Led Zeppelin is definitely up there in our list. I think that's now 3rd for Led Zeppelin. Our most popular answer has been AC/DC. I think has been our most popular answer. But yeah, that's
Really?
it's getting up. Yeah, it's getting up there. So now for our 3rd question, the question, I gotta do a disclaimer. But if you could perform at any venue in the world, for one show, where would you perform and why? And I gotta do a disclaimer. I am banning for temporarily, and well, I'm banning already because they've already got first and second place. I'm trying to get more venues up there, but Madison Square Garden is at second place with 10 votes, and Red Rocks is in first place with 13. So Red Rocks and Madison Square Garden are, I think, third place has 4 votes, so they're well beyond. And I said it once we reach 50 music podcasts, and I'd release the list. So we're at 48, 49. So other than those two, if you could perform anywhere in the world, where would you perform?
Even though I'm going to say the festival has definitely gone down in quality for many years. You can tell them I said that. I'm from Chicago, so the main stage at Lollapalooza would be pretty insane.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Glastonbury.
That's a good one, too.
Glastonbury, yep. So, John, you're for Lollapalooza, too?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll put that down for 2. And then Trey?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Glastonbury because I don't know a whole lot of places.
All right, we got 2 Lollapalooza, 2 Glastonbury, so that actually means Lollapalooza and Glastonbury move up. They're now tied for 5th place now, so just getting 2 votes automatically gets you in 5th place. We've had so much variety, but I gotta say my choice is Slane Castle in Ireland.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
It just looks like an absolute awesome venue. So now this is the question where we get down to the real nitty gritty. We have bands break up over this and fights ensue. The best part of the podcast, guilty pleasure song. What is a guilty pleasure song that you think that no one else in the band would think that you enjoy?
Roxanne by the Police.
You hate Sting. What a loser.
Out of the band.
Man. Coming from the emo kid phase of my youth, anything off of Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. That record is good, man.
I actually like that too. I like that, yeah.
I'm a huge ABBA fan, so I'm just throwing that out there.
Anything by ABBA.
I feel like they probably know I like it, but some just a couple of anime intro songs that I actually listen to.
We love those.
It's like the first One Piece song. That one's fucking good.
Wait, so we did have an ABBA on here, I heard?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, one of the guests that I had on, who I'm also going to have to do a plug for at the end of this because we have come up with a agreement that I was going to announce at the end of this, but I'll just do it right now. Lee Spears Productions, we have teamed up with him, and he is going to be sharing these podcasts on his Facebook page and all of his other business things. He is a band manager for a lot of people. He hooks up gigs, and I highly recommend everyone here look him up and get in contact if interested. Lee Spears, he's out of Chicago. He'll have a band that's coming here to the Poorhouse on September 15th. Auditory Armory, I just interviewed them, so everyone go check them out. But I do have to mention, because you did say ABBA, during his podcast that I had with him, he lived in Sweden for 8 years, and he met 2 members of ABBA. One of them, he worked at the guy's restaurant that the guy opened. So, and apparently everyone loves ABBA so much in Sweden that they have a whole museum dedicated to him that you have to get tickets for 6 months in advance. Yeah. So that was pretty insane. Absolutely. So yeah, again, Lee Spears Productions, everyone go look it up for sure. I really enjoyed having Lee on. He's given me a lot of bands to talk to, and yeah, go look him up. So now for our final question of the 5-questioner segment. This is a new one. I'd normally ask guilty pleasure genre, but I've decided to do away with that. And we're now going to go, out of all the history of music, if you could get rid of one artist, not kill them, they would just decide not to become a musician, and you could erase all of their music from existence so that no one would have ever heard anything that they've ever done, who would you pick? And again, I have to emphasize, you are not killing them. They would maybe just become like a plumber or a housekeeper. We've had all the time where people are like, well, I don't want to kill them. And I was like, no, you're not killing them. You're just making sure that they never released any music. Who would it be?
I might have to get Imagine Dragons out of there.
You know what? Yeah, they are a
Pop up
disgrace.
on so much Spotify radios, and I'm like, all right, what's this song? I gotta skip it. It's always them.
I'm gonna agree. Or whoever started stadium country as a genre.
yes.
Whoever that person is.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
I'm gonna go Limp Bizkit. He ruined the Who for me when I was little. He covered Behind Blue Eyes. It's the worst cover I've ever heard.
Oh yeah, yep.
And all the kids in school thought that's who wrote that song, and it drove me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go with Nickelback. Just do that for everybody.
Believe it or not, I've used this question now 6 times, and that's the first time anyone has ever mentioned Nickelback, which I am shocked that it's taken that long. Our most popular answer has been Post Malone, who's gotten 3 votes. And Justin Bieber's second with 2. Well, he's tied for 2 with that, and Taylor Swift got 2. Even though I disagreed a little bit, she has good songs, but overall, I think sometimes it's a little rough around the edges. But all right, so we wrapped up that. So now, where can people find you guys? Do you have iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud? Where can people find your music?
You can find us everywhere. We're on Spotify. We have our newest song, Black Cats, on there, and our older EP. YouTube, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, pretty much anything that is a normal site to go to for music, we're there.
Our website, too, has
our
musical
website.
links.
Thestrips.rocks.
Strips.rocks. All right, I'll leave a link down below for all those. And do you guys have any? I know you guys performed last night, but do you have any upcoming shows that you would like to promote here?
Yeah, what's the next one we got coming up? Yeah.
October.
All right, edit this out. We're looking up on the phone.
No worries.
September 23rd and September 24th. That's
We
22nd.
got back-to-back.
Yeah. October 612 Oktoberfest on Saturday the 22nd, and then another one on the 24th at Nomad Pub.
Okay. So we got one at 612 Brewery on their Oktoberfest party on September 22nd.
Yeah.
We're playing early in the afternoon on that one. Get there at 2 o'clock. Drive a couple beers into you, and then we'll be on stage at 3.
It's a great place.
Yeah, super
It's a
cool.
venue.
And then the day after, we're playing at Nomad.
Following Monday.
The following Monday,
24th.
the 24th, we're playing at Nomad Pub.
Nomad Pub. All right, sounds great. I'll write those down for sure, and I'll leave links, and I'll keep reminders down there. And I like to promote sort of more of the Minneapolis scene. I mean, I have people from all over the country, and even one international guest from Canada, which I don't really consider international, but I like to say it. Do you have any bands that you guys are really close to? I mean, we know Feed the Dog and the other one, but do you guys have any other bands that you would like to plug here?
We got to throw out Vibecore and the Confused Brothers.
Vibecore. All right.
Or Vibration Corporation.
Yeah, we actually had. Yeah, we actually did have them on, and then the Confused Brothers. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. That's a great name, the Confused Brothers. Anyway, so I might as well just check it out on that alone. So one of the 2 questions I like to ask before we wrap it up here, I like to ask everyone, and this goes for each of you guys to answer, is if someone were to come up to you and say, hey, I'm thinking about forming a band, what would be the best piece of advice that you could give that person in order for their band to be success? And by success, I mean that like they release music and they're able to play some venues. I don't mean like they're becoming like the next Nirvana or Rolling Stones or anything.
Do it. If you got that drive to just like make music, write songs, just do it and forget what anyone tells you.
I think, and if you're going to work with other people, team up with people who kind of share the same vision as you, and just people you can trust and people are going to keep you motivated, and it's going to, because the whole thing is not any fun when you hear about like bands that all hate each other. Like, what's the point of doing that? That sounds like a terrible time. So just keep good people around you and fucking practice.
I'd say for getting shows, it's a numbers game. You're gonna not hear back from the venues 1,000 times before you hear back once. You gotta just keep reaching out to the same venue with the same thing every time until they say something.
And just include at the very bottom, like, I'm not a serial killer, I'm not a stalker, I just want to promote my band.
Exactly.
Trey?
Yeah. Just don't expect to make a lot of money right away. Make sure you have another job, and don't expect too much right away. It took a while. We just made money for the first time yesterday.
Whoa, we made more money than we usually do for the first time yesterday.
Yeah.
But so don't do it for a living right away.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Absolutely. So, lastly, well, I thought of one question before my last question, so I'll ask that now. So, what is your guys' main goal, would you say, maybe in the next year? Do you guys have like a set goal that you'd like to achieve, or are you guys just trying to slowly build your audience more and more? What would you say is that?
By next year, I think we'll be ready, and I would like to have a full record completed. We're just kind of in a spot where, as we get better, we're writing better songs, so we keep kind of just giving out like little samples, singles or little 3-song EPs, which are always great and fun to do. And I think, by this time next year, hopefully we'll have the 10 to 12 that are just perfect together, and then we can work on it.
Yeah. One of the things, this is another one before my last question because I just thought of it. This will be the first time I ask, but all the bands that I have on here, except for a few, have other jobs other than being musicians. How difficult has that been for you guys trying to balance that work band lifestyle, knowing that, I mean, your band is your passion, but you haven't really been able to be, you're not able to be as financially independent now as you would like to. How hard is that to kind of balance that lifestyle? Because I have a job too, by the way. I work at we sell artificial plants. It's a company right there, so it's a gig. But now with this podcast, I'm slowly starting to get a little bit more popular. But that too, I have to balance that lifestyle. But how have you guys come to find that?
I guess personally, it's like I'm working for the music, not the other way around. Kind of, it's like, so it's not too difficult. I want to work so that I can play shows in a way.
Yeah, I think we all kind of have jobs that we kind of like and make enough money, and we all get off for the shows we want. So it's been pretty easy, I think, the last few years to get off for every show we wanted, and we have money to. Even if we just get beer that show, it's fine. We're still getting out and playing a show, so we're not like crippled financially because of it or anything. So
absolutely. So lastly, the last question I like to ask is if you could talk to yourself, let's say 5 years ago. I usually say 10 for the older guests, but for 5 years ago, if you could talk to yourself, what would be the best piece of advice musically you could give yourself?
Drink less, practice more.
That buying more than $10 worth of equipment can make you sound a ton better. Just go for it and get some okay gear.
Sometimes bigger isn't always better.
I would have taken better care of my back. It would make it easier. Stretch more.
That's awesome. So, again, you guys, the Strips, I highly recommend you give these guys a listen to. And if you're in the Minneapolis area, go and support their shows. I'll list the dates down below and the venues. These guys are really, really great, and these guys have been really, really patient with me, I'd like to say. We filmed the podcast before, and we had some technical difficulties, and these guys were kind enough to come back on again, so I really, really appreciate that. And these guys are just class acts, and I really recommend that you guys go out and see them. I couldn't have enjoyed this more. You guys, thanks again for coming on. If you guys need anything promotion-wise, you got your new album coming out, if in the future, like you said you were thinking about, or your EP, let me know. I'll plug it. Shows, I'll plug it. No questions at all. Oh, and by the way, John has a YouTube channel. John, would you like to talk a little bit really quickly about that, what you guys do and where they can find it?
Yeah, I'll just be real brief about it. It's called Learn Your Game, and the whole concept is I wanted to sit down and spend an evening playing a video game with everybody who has kind of influenced my life in some way.
Yeah. And I highly recommend you go and check it out. They'll be playing a game, they'll just be talking about stuff, and it's a new concept for sure. I don't think I've seen any podcasts like that before, or episodes, so I highly recommend. I'll leave a link down to that below. And again, you guys, the Strips, highly recommend them. Leave a link to all their stuff down below. Contact them if you want. And do you guys have any merch that people could buy if they were interested?
At our shows, we give away free CDs, and so you don't have to buy it. It's just there.
Yeah, you just got to come to our shows, though.
Yeah, even better. Just go to their shows, and you never know. You could end up with a free CD. So this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the Spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.